Welcome to the Event Manager Show. Today we're going to be talking about event design, and my special guest is Roxy from Art of Celebrations. So Roxy, tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry.
Hi Walter, my name is Roxy Zapala. I'm the owner of Art of Celebrations, and I actually got into the industry of wedding design through a flower shop that we also own, Flower Parade. I started off with the flowers. I was doing a lot of flowers for weddings and special events, and I was asked more and more to do design of the entire event. So that's sort of how we branched off to Art of Celebrations.
Great. Now, what is the difference between an event designer and an actual decorator?
The difference between a designer and a decorator is that me as a designer, I don't actually own a lot of the items. I will go out and get them from other vendors, such as a decorator or a florist or a stationery person, and I'm kind of pulling the entire look together. So I'm designing it from scratch, kind of coming up with a concept. I even do things like 3D renderings to showcase or show the bride and the groom or a client what the event's going to look like. So I'm kind of that mind behind the design, and then the decorator would be someone who would actually come in, do the linens or chair covers or whatever it is that they specialize in.
Great. And in terms of a particular bride that would actually hire an event designer, is there a particular personality or a particular budget that they should be looking for?
I think anybody who's looking for something outside of the box or the wow factor would hire someone like myself to design the event. Someone who's looking not to have a cookie cutter wedding or event would hire an event designer. And I think anyone would really appreciate or would like to have an event designer, unless, of course, they are very creative themselves and they want to do all of that themselves. But it's good to have somebody who's professional, who knows all the little ins and outs of the industry and kind of making sure that everything has a cohesive look. So I think a lot of clients find it helpful, but there's only a handful of them that actually go ahead and book an event designer.
Good. And in terms of how far in advance a bride should actually book an event designer, is there a particular recommendation you would give to couples?
It's always good to give yourself a head start. So if you have a year of planning in advance, then yeah, go ahead and hire a designer right from the get-go. That way we can go ahead and create the entire vision from the beginning till the end, from the time you send off your invitations till the day of the event. So everything has a cohesive look, everything's kind of tied in together. But if you don't have a year, even if you have half a year or 2 months or however long you have, we can always go ahead and create a beautiful event for you. But we can also kind of go halfway through and collect all the things that you've already done and have and try to pull them together.
Great. So basically, once they sit down the initial consultation, you're looking at their needs and wants, and then prioritizing according to their actual budget.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. So we would, of course, look at the budget and what they're looking for and what they're looking to have done by
Great.
us. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be talking very great detail about the table setting you have created for us behind us. So in our second segment, we'll go into big details about all the elements and what your inspirations were. So stay tuned. So now we're going to talk about this elaborate table setting with Roxy from Art of Celebrations. So Roxy, let's start off first how you got the inspiration for this particular table setting.
So anytime that I kind of think of a design, I come up with something to base it on. So this one was based on an English rose garden. I'm a huge fan of the David Austin roses, so I wanted to kind of draw inspiration from that. So we started off with the beautiful china that had a really beautiful motif on it and kind of took it from there. So it always has a beginning and kind of you just think of what you're inspired by or what your client's inspired by. So this time was an English rose garden.
Great. Well, I always say there's 3 different wow factors when it comes to weddings, and decor is one of the top 3. So how should the actual event design start? At which point? Is it from the invitation?
I do believe that it starts right at the beginning. So from the invitation and onwards after that, I think you want your guests to get a feel of what your wedding's going to be like through your invitation. You don't want to give it all away, but you want that element to be followed through from the beginning till the end.
So for this particular setting, do you have an example to show us?
Yes, I do. I have this beautiful boxed silk box invitation from Jolie Papeterie, and it has like a really pretty rose motif, which is what we kind of started off with, and the inside also has this beautiful element which kind of follows through on our chairs here with the vinyl. So that's sort of what we started off with, and all the elements kind of repeat themselves. The table number, the menus all have similar pattern and color scheme.
Great. So again, first we start off with the invitations, and then the next stage you would start off with what level?
It really kind of depends on what the client's looking for, but I think flowers are very important. We have to look for seasonal flowers, what's available at the time. So I think the next step would be the flowers, and obviously picking out the color scheme is very important. So I always also tell the bride to pick out the bridesmaids' dresses and make sure that she sticks with them before we could go ahead any further.
So for this particular setup, what types of flowers did you use?
So we have here just a very traditional and classic kind of flowers: hydrangeas, the garden roses, regular roses, spray roses, and peonies. Peonies are in season right now. They're not always available. They're a huge hit amongst brides, but unfortunately not everyone gets to have them.
So in this particular table, would be a really good choice for the head table, as you will. And how did you differentiate the bride and groom in this particular setting?
So for the bride and the groom, we did these beautiful garlands made of flowers to kind of have them seated at the special spot to know that this is the bride and the groom's chair. You could do a different chair, but for this one we kind of kept it all uniform and just added the flower garlands.
And I love the white ghost chairs and how you did the vinyl decal at the front and at the back, which is very different. Most people just focus on the back. Why did you decide to do the front as well?
So I always kind of, if it is a head table, if it's going to be looked at from the front, you want to make sure that you can see the element that's here repeated on the front of the chair, so that way when you look head on, you can see it from both sides.
Great.
Yeah.
And then with the china, like as you stated, you did go above and beyond and rented additional china. What's the inspiration you got from that?
Okay, so we went to Chairman Mills, which I love working with. They have a huge selection of things, and they had this beautiful, beautiful china with the floral motif that I wanted to incorporate from the beginning. So as soon as I got that, that's where the inspiration for a lot of the other elements came through. I wanted to make sure that the middle of the china, where it has that beautiful rose, matches with the vinyls that are provided by Event Graffiti and with the invitation and all throughout the all the elements of the design.
So again, it was that one element and it kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, we took that because it's English rose garden. I wanted it to look really natural, but it's really the rose that I concentrated on, and then kind of took it from there. And I wanted to make sure, yes, it's a bit different. The motif is a little bit different on the china than it is on the chairs in the invitation, but I did that purposely. I didn't want it to be too matchy-matchy, but as long as it had a very similar look and feel, I thought it would be a great element to kind of incorporate. And you want it to look natural, right? Because it is a garden, so just lots of beautiful floral elements everywhere.
So the atmosphere was created from beginning to end, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of the linens, I see that you went with different patterns. Can you talk a little bit about that inspiration?
Yes, I love mix and match patterns. I know it's a little bit tricky sometimes because we do have a lot of things going on. So the very floral pattern, we have the lace, and then we have the gingham, but there is method to this madness. It's just because when you think about like an old English garden and the tea sipping and so on, you kind of think of these little squares, and you think of the lace, and you think of the flowers. So that's sort of where it all came together, and I think it worked quite beautifully. So we have a little bit of the more casual and a little bit more of that really rich and beautiful elements.
And I see you also to personalize the actual cupcakes. These are not your traditional cupcakes. They're very high-end, luxurious looking, and you also added menu per guest. Talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so we put a menu on each place setting just so the guests know what they're going to get. I think it's really nice if they can kind of pick it up and see what they're going to have for dinner later on. And the cupcakes from Patricia K Creations are just based on that floral pattern again. Each one is a little bit different. So we have the peony, we have the rose, we have kind of rosettes on it as well, but all of it goes back to that original garden rose that we talked about.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've also seen couples use it as a seating card, and if there was individual or personalized menus, they would actually make the different customization on each guest seating, which is great. And in terms of the trends for 2014, 2015, what do you see happening?
I believe that pastels are huge. They always have been. I think they're timeless. However, peach and blush and champagne is huge right now. Even if you look at the bridal runways, a lot of the dresses are blush or champagne or peach colored. So I think those colors will really showcase in the decor and design. However, I do know that the Radiant Orchid, which is that beautiful fuchsia pink kind of purple color, is the most popular color for this year. But I do think that next year the pastels are really going to take over again.
Great. And for a couple that might be on a limited budget, what's the #1 element you feel is absolutely critical for the wedding decor?
I believe that centerpieces make a huge impact. So I always say, even if you go with less expensive flowers, something like maybe just hydrangeas with greenery, but do make them big and full and beautiful rather than maybe using expensive things. Linens are very important too, but having like a really nice, maybe a plain linen that's color coordinated and then just a big arrangement of flowers. Like I said, less expensive, but it just gives you that wow factor when you first walk into the hall.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Roxy. We have the honor and privilege of seeing this beautiful tabletop, and we look forward to sharing some more thoughts and ideas on what to look for your wedding day.